Hello, Angry Spork here with Young Justice Outsiders episode 21, Unknown Factors, which begins with Cat Grant at the premiere of a movie called The Great Khan, which has been produced by Good World Studios, and she has a little chat with Gretchen Goode herself. The interview is watched by Nightwing on his high-tech lenses. He makes some remark about it like an after party. Black Lightning is not in on the whole connection with Oracle and so forth, so he's wondering what he's talking about. He plays it off like, hey, we should catch a movie or something while we're here because we're in Hollywood. Like, let's go. And their mission is to sneak inside Granny Goodness's Hollywood home and, see if she has any apocalyptic tech. Maybe get it out of her way so she doesn't hurt herself. She is an old lady after all. If they happen to encounter any problems, they still have Dreamer's mother box. She never came back for it so far, so they can boom tube out of there the first sign of trouble. Oracle is monitoring them, taking out security cameras, making sure they're good to go, but once they're inside, she loses their signal, and shortly thereafter, they fall through a portal in the floor, because Granny has some real good security. So we go to Atlantis, where Kalder'ahm and his boyfriend are watching the metahuman newcomer, Dolphin, swim around, get acclimated, and their conversation in Atlantean is interrupted by Oracle saying, Nightwing and Black Lightning have been gone for 24 hours, and there's no one in their secret bat group that can help out. And they're speaking, Kalder's speaking Atlantean. It's being translated into English as Barbara reads it on her fancy lenses. So basically, Kalder's the only one that can help, so, gotta do what he gotta do. Then we go to a snowy road being driven by Mal Duncan and his wife, Bumblebee. Karen Beecher, okay, I blanked on her name for a brief moment. And they're, they kind of have like an expository explanation of how she's negative for the metagene, he's negative for the metagene, he recently got tested, she got tested before she became Ray Palmer's assistant and became Bumblebee. And then they're talking about like he thinks that they're going to have a daughter, she thinks they're going to have a son. Mal's thinking like there's a possibility of doing genetic alterations to like maybe give their kid a leg up, but Karen's like, no, we'll let Mother Nature take the reins here. She doesn't want to really do anything to alter kids' genetics. And that's when her water breaks. So we go to the Hollywood base for the Outsiders. Ship is landing in camouflage mode. Inside, Victor's having, goodbye with his dad. Vic's gonna stay with the Outsiders for now. They've got a fresh start going, so there's no need to apologize for having pushed his dad away and so forth. And Brion and Beast Boy have come back from a restaurant that was under attack, so hashtagged by a busboy, and Gar's covered in red, and it's not blood, it's like ketchup, it's like various sauces, and the worst he has is like a sprained wrist, and and Brion's just laughing his head off that they were fighting a dude called the Condiment King, and I'm kind of curious to see what his design would have looked like in this show, because they like to tweak the design some, and I'm a little curious how they do. I do have a soft spot for the outright silly costume we had in Batman the Animated Series. Tara and Forager head out for a mission with Miss Martian. They don't get any dialogue, just a couple of clicks from Fred. Violet walks up saying, hey, We Are Outsiders is trending again. Congratulations, you guys. And Brion's just avoiding eye contact, just saying, yeah, thanks. And he goes to hit the showers. Garfield waits in the med bay to have his minor wrist sprain taken care of. Violet says, Brion's still mad. They still haven't really talked. And she's thinking maybe with so little time left, she should mention how she's dying so they have time to say goodbye. But Jace is like, hey, I'm texting my mentor tonight, so maybe tell him when we have some good news about, curing you. It's not going to happen because she's evil. So we go back to Granny's place, and she's reading The Mysteries of Udolpho. I'm sure that has some kind of deeper meaning, but I'm not terribly familiar with it. I'm not 100% sure that I'm pronouncing it right. So Come on, mysteries is a hard word to pronounce. Anyway, Aquaman and his boyfriend Wind are in the very same spot, lurking in the shrubbery where Pierce and Nightwing were. Oy. Wind is saying he can't get used to how, the land walkers breathe. All this sucking and blowing.
Raising.
Oracle is, saying just she's pretty much going to, cover their tracks as they infiltrate, go in stealth mode and so forth. But Kalder's like, nah, I got another idea. They just go right to the front door. They they ring the doorbell, they talk to Granny and say, hey, a couple of my friends might have been here, might have disappeared. And she's like, oh, you mean they might have, trespassed on my property and broken the law and that kind of thing? And Kalder's being very diplomatic, saying that they'll, once they find their friends, they'll look into the matter, see what's going on, take care of it and all that. They're transported by an entity known as Overlord. We get a big close-up shot of him. It's kind of, you can tell it's mechanical in some fashion, but you can't really get too many details out there. So they go through the portal as well, and Babs is watching through a beetle drone outside the window. Then Granny notices her noticing, and they just kind of slowly sink into the portal, all three of them. Oracle's hoping that Kalder knows what he's doing, but just in case, she starts working on something else. Meanwhile, Karen is giving birth, and she is very sweat-free for a woman pushing another human out of her body. I have seen criticisms about Young Justice's animation this season, and I'm willing to just kind of... I haven't really noticed that much. In this episode, there were a couple other things I'll get to later. That's one thing, just a few sweat drops would have made it a bit more convincing, because, don't get me wrong, the actress is giving a convincing vocal performance of birth. It struck me as odd that they didn't animate any sweat. There was a funny line where Mal says, if you hurry, our baby can still be born on Martin Luther King Day. And she just grabs him like, you are not telling me to hurry up. It's a classic thing to have, the husband say or do something that enrages his wife while in childbirth. Of course, I could be wrong. Maybe they're not. I think they're married. I don't remember seeing rings, but then again, drawing rings might be too detailed. I don't know. She gives birth, and it's a baby girl. Yay! But something is wrong, and they need to take this kid in for some x-rays. Dang. So we go to the workout room in the Hollywood base, and Garfield's on an elliptical while Vic is saying how he's basically come to terms with his cyborg status, and he's gotten a better handle on it. Even learned how to form a cannon out of his hand from Blue Beetle. Garfield sets one of the weight machines to 255 pounds, I think it was. It may have been 225. Just humor me. So, Vic pulls, his red lines glow, and then whoosh! All the weights just go flying upwards. And of course they say crash, which is rather apropos. I was expecting it crashed through someone's bedroom, and they're like, what the heck is going on? Then we go to the balcony where Jace finds Brione, and he admits that it's been difficult for him to talk to Violet. She tells him, look, she doesn't feel like she's in control, so the next time she approaches you, be open with her, and that will give her a feeling of control. That was oddly helpful. The advice of someone who really isn't evil. But why did Jace look for Brione in the first place? Oh, Garfield wanted her to show him more We Are the Outsiders trending, particularly in Markovia, and how this might be his ticket back to his kingdom. Huh. The action of someone who is secretly evil! Back at the hospital, The fact that she just gave birth, as Mal mentions a couple of times, isn't stopping Karen from suiting up. Not just in her Bumblebee suit, but also in, I guess, some gear that Ryan, I'm assuming Ryan Choi, gifted to her from Ray Palmer. The problem is that their child has a hole in her heart. It's a common procedure, and there is a surgeon, but he's not going to be able to get it through the snow-covered roads. So this is the only way to do it. I'm not sure if she's the doctor or the nurse. A medical professional, let's say, says that she has assisted in fixing a hole in the heart. So she's going to assist Karen as she shrinks down small enough to go inside of the syringe. Syringe is injected into her child. She doesn't have to travel through the entire body or anything. She's just right in front of the hole in her kid's heart. And that suddenly sounds a lot more metaphorical now that I've said it out loud. While the medical professional guides her through the correction, that is the same word that Granny uses as she guides Kalder and Wind in a protective box through her X-pit. And that's where she sends people who need to be, dealt with, disciplined, if you will. And they find Grayson and Black Lightning. I'm wondering why Grayson didn't have his mask on. I mean, he's still going by Nightwing. I think he was in the Nightwing suit an episode or two ago. So why, if he's going on a stealth mission, why would he not wear a mask? I mean, clearly Granny already knows who they are, and probably a mask wouldn't have done anything to keep her from that knowledge. But they lost their face masks. Maybe that was it. and there are parts of their bodies that are just kind of erased out, and they're clearly in pain. And Granny says, "Hey, go get him. You get him, you can take him." And so Kalder and Wind exit, and they're in intense pain too. And in the background, you can hear a chant about "My command is Darkseid's will." Wind notices, "Hey, if you light up your magical body emblems, then it doesn't hurt as much." They grab the two. Wind grabs the mother box, and they make an exit. She commands Overlord to take them back to her place. Kalder's like, "Thanks for the hospitality. We're going now." And Granny's like, "No, you can take your buddies, but you're not taking the mother box." And Kalder's like, "Hey, living thing, not leaving it behind." Granny doesn't like that idea, so she commands Grayson and Pierce to get up and attack. Back inside the baby's heart, Karen has applied a corrective patch, and all signs are looking good. She's everything's good. So the doctor, okay, he was a doctor. I just wasn't sure before because they never said nurse or doctor before, or it slipped my mind. She says Mother Nature might not be perfect, but the girl's got a mother that can help in that area. And that is one of several things that starts running through Karen's mind, along with her earlier conversation with Mal about giving their daughter a leg up on a genetic level. And she turns off communications so she can think for a moment. She shrinks down small enough to be looking right at the chromosomes of her child. She's thinking of thinking back on her dissertation, how she used some of her own blood samples to work a serum that can enhance any number of abilities, help fight illnesses, and so forth. You see her kind of take out a vial of some kind, and certain strands of her DNA start glowing different colors. And it's but that's just her thinking of doing it, not actually doing it. And so she's thinking about it. Granny orders Nightwing and Black Lightning to attack, and it's not really much of a fight, really. Kalder's restrained Black Lightning. Wind restrains Nightwing but drops the mother box. And Pierce tries electrocuting Kalder, but, he's got his magic, And that and his Atlantean strength helps him keep these guys at bay. Granny's not too deterred by this. She tells Overlord to kill the mother box, which it does by opening up the wall and big old laser cannon pointing out and just firing right at it. So at the Hollywood base, just as Brion makes a reference to an Infinity Inc., both Violet and Vic detect something wrong. This time, Vic opens up a boom tube, which is quite surprising. Everyone just jumps in there, even Brion, which Jace says, Brion, wait! I'm not sure why. Boom tube right into Granny's home, which knocks her down. Humorously enough, Vic takes out the laser, Violet heals the mother box, and then speaks in an alien language, which Granny calls the tongue of the old gods, and uses it to unbrainwash Grayson and Pierce. And the weird thing is Pierce asks what happened. Kalder is about to say he was brainwashed, but he stops him right after you were, and he says, I was brainwashed! What was that? It just seems so freaking awkward. I'm not sure why they had it. Why? Just weird. Granny's getting so mad, she wants to send them all to her X-Pit, but before she can finish her threat, big ol' explosion. And here's the weird thing. She's making the threat, tiny little missile crashes in, explodes, and then right after the explosion, she's on the ground, and some of the furniture is knocked over. That's it. And that's another thing about the animation. They didn't have any scorch marks or burns or broken glass from an explosion. There were a lot of windows there. Granny was it was very weird how she was just on. She wasn't they didn't show her moving back or anything. It's she was just instantly on the ground. And okay, they're clearly cutting corners with the animation, probably because of the low budget, but they got a season 4, so maybe they'll get a bigger budget this time. Pierce sees a bat-shaped drone fly away, just as Oracle is telling Kalder that she had his back all along, and they boom tube away. Granny's gonna have to, be taken care of another time. And she there are times in this episode where Granny goes from a very calm and almost sweet demeanor to freaking crazy murder eyes. After they leave, she picks up this box, opens the lid, and there's Overlord, this tiny little mechanical skull head thing with little arms and little legs. It's like if the Transformers made a little robot based on MODOK. And she tells the little Overlord, it's okay, it's all gonna be okay, it's all gonna be alright. And then we go back to the hospital where Karen is, just in her Bumblebee suit, resting after her ordeal, and telling her kid it's gonna be okay. And I'm thinking, if that kid woke up and just started grabbing, she might be in even bigger danger. But, Mal picks her up, puts her in her neighboring bed. She returns to normal size. And as he's picking their child up, I played it a couple times. I'm not 100% sure what their daughter's name is. And all I can tell is that it sounds like they just hyphenated their last names. He notes how Karen was still in there for a while after applying the patch. And he asks what she was doing, and she says the right thing by our child, leaving it very ambiguous if she used that funky serum of hers. We'll go to the med bay in the Hollywood base, and Nightwing seems to be having some kind of night terror, and Barbara's by his side saying it's going to be fine. Something's up with Grayson. Kalder and Wind are just outside, and Wind doesn't really see the appeal of the surface world, but hey, he's got his man with him. And Brion apologizes to Violet, and they hug. And Jace texts her mentor saying that there are complications, and she needs to get her kids out. And she's texted back that arrangements have been made. Who is her mentor that she's been texting? The Ultra-Humanites! Which, I think he used to be human, so clearly they knew each other before he got all apish. Then we go to the ending credits over Mal and Karen's infant daughter, cute little newborn, and now they have an end credits scene. I don't think they've had it before. This might be a first for the season, certainly for the series. I heard about it before I watched the episode. Like, there was a post on it, on DC Universe, about a post-credits scene, and it's Granny. She's saying she's found the anti-life equation while talking to a red-tinted hologram of Darkseid. I think Granny Goodness might be a villain. This one was very light on action. What little fighting there actually was basically put to a standstill. It was really more just advancing certain subplots, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I did notice that there were some quirks about the animation. They were clearly cutting corners and trying to save money because, well, they finally got a third season and 26 episodes instead of, like, I think it was 22 or something. I think 20 for the second season because they got kind of screwed over there. Part of me thinks that maybe Karen decided not to use the vials, but I'm leaning towards that. But of course, it's still possible she did. I could see her like foregoing like research or testing or something because it's her child on the line. This was kind of a sudden thing because for the last several episodes, they've been focusing so much on how popular the outsiders are on the social media. They started out very strong with this mystery about the meta-trafficking, and then they've taken kind of a detour with the outsiders. It seems very heavily focused on getting the word out, which I can kind of see from one perspective, but gotta remember, there's like an alien warlord at work here. Unless they're saving him for season 4, I don't think that hashtags are going to stop him. I mean, I trust Brandon Vietti and Greg Weisman. They've done good work, but I don't think even they can stop Darkseid with a hashtag trend. So we finally know who Jace's mentor is, and it was a surprise. I thought maybe it would be like Achilles Milo, because it seems like someone who's been known to dabble in genetic alterations of humans might be someone interested in what's going on with Violet. But the Ultra-Humanite makes sense too. The episode was really more stealth and guile than anything else. Granny's just fully aware that the heroes know who she is, more or less what she is. This was a more mellow episode in a lot of respects. So we'll see what next week has to offer. See you later.